not to say anything about you, Mike, but, they was getting sick and tired of the Michael Jacksons and the Princes and all these different kind of images, I should say. These people that, make themselves up to be something that they're not. And I don't make myself up to be nothing. I'm just me.
Bobby Brown, the self-proclaimed king of R&B, had top charting hits as a member of New Edition and as a solo artist. Do you think he's the king of R&B? Some people do, while some people think he's crazy for even saying it out loud. His highly successful album, Don't Be Cruel, made Bobby a solo megastar, with songs like Every Little Step and My Prerogative. But before we take a look at Bobby's magnus opus, Don't Be Cruel, let's go back a little further to where it all began. Bobby Brown was born Robert Beresford Brown on February 5, 1969 in Boston, Massachusetts. He was the seventh of 8 children born to Herbert and Carol Brown. Bobby and his family lived in the infamous Orchard Projects in Boston. As a child, he was getting in trouble by committing theft and being involved with gangs. By 1978, Bobby and his friends Michael Bivins and Ricky Bell formed what would become New Edition. Not long after, friends Ralph Tresvant and Ryan DeVoe would join. In the early 80s, they won numerous talent shows which caught the attention of local producer and songwriter Maurice Starr, who signed the group to a streetwise record label. In 1983, they released their first album and song called Candy Girl. The song shot up to the #1 position on the R&B chart. Their next 2 songs, Is This the End and Popcorn Love, also became hits. At this time, New Edition is becoming a household name, with Ralph Tresvant established as the lead singer, but it didn't stop Bobby from being the standout member. In 1984, they left their record label Streetwise and signed to MCA Records. The following year, they released their self-titled sophomore album, which spawned 2 #1 hits, Cool It Now and Mr. Telephone Man, where Bobby sang the chorus. New Edition was becoming one of the biggest groups at that time, but trouble was brewing as Bobby would show up late to performances, extend his singing parts, and dance inappropriately in front of their young female fans. New Edition was so fed up with Bobby's antics that they voted him out the group, but deep down, Bobby was ready to leave. Bobby said, "They knew I wanted to go solo, but at the same time, I was causing so much conflict with the way I performed and the way they performed and how fast I grew up and how fast they grew up." Soon after being kicked out the group, Bobby signed a solo deal with MCA Records, who had previously promised him a solo contract whenever he decided to leave New Edition. In 1986, Bobby released his first solo song, Girlfriend, from his debut album, boldly titled King of Stage. Some of you may not know that Girlfriend was his first #1 song. Despite the song's success, the album was panned by critics and failed on the charts. After the failure of King of Stage, Bobby wanted to work with a new set of writers and producers that can give him an edgier sound for his second album. He wanted a breakthrough album that displayed his star power like how the Control album did for Janet Jackson. Bobby began to work with Babyface and L.A. Reid, as well as Teddy Riley and others. Collectively, they created Bobby's best-selling album, Don't Be Cruel, which was released on June 20th, 1988. The 11-track album debuted at number 74, but the singles helped push it to #1 6 months later. The first single was the album's title track, Don't Be Cruel, which was written and produced by Babyface and L.A. Reid. This was the first song Bobby did with them, but according to Babyface, he didn't like it initially. Babyface said, "We were just trying to learn each other at that particular point. He didn't love the song, so it wasn't like he was really into it. It took a little more work to get it done." The song that Bobby didn't like would become a hit, reaching #1 on the R&B chart and #8 on the Hot 100 chart. It was even nominated for a Grammy. The music video is similar to Michael Jackson's The Way You Make Me Feel, where a man is pursuing a woman. And interesting enough, Bobby dedicated his song to his girlfriend at the time, Janet Jackson. As good as the first single did, it would be his second single that would make him an international star. Prior to making the track, the album was already done, but Bobby felt it was lacking a strong, aggressive song. In comes Teddy Riley, the king of New Jack Swing, to provide exactly what Bobby needed, and that was My Prerogative. Teddy wrote it with his guy bandmate Aaron Hall and Bobby. The song was a response to his critics for judging him for his departure from New Edition. After releasing the hard-hitting song aimed at his critics, Bobby came back with a song for the ladies, showing his softer side called Roni as his third single. This was another Babyface L.A. Reid song, which is about a man showing how much he loves and cherishes his woman. It would become the album's third straight top 10 song. Every Little Step was the next single. The Babyface and L.A. Reid dance hit was inspired by L.A. Reid's relationship with singer Pebbles. The song was intended for group Midnight Star, but Bobby heard the demo and said he had to have it for his album. Fast forward 30 years later to Ralph Tresvant's former manager making claims that Ralph sang on parts of the song because Bobby was too high on drugs to finish it. It was later confirmed by Ralph that his vocals are on it, but the reason is because the song was demoed by New Edition and that Babyface and L.A. Reid kept his vocals on the final version. Who do you believe? Regardless, it was another hit song, reaching number 1 and number 3 on the R&B and pop charts respectively. The fifth and final single was a song about a young man spending quality time with his girlfriend called Rock With Ya, that was written and produced by, you guessed it, Babyface and L.A. Reid. There are 2 versions of the song, which the music video uses the remix version. Rock With Ya became the album's 5th straight top 10 pop song, climbing to the number 7 spot. To promote the album, Bobby embarked on his first tour with his former group, New Edition, in 1988, where he was able to become the king of stage, singing and dancing non-stop, giving the audience a performance to remember. The same provocative dance moves that got him kicked out of New Edition were the same moves that helped elevate his solo career, and by 1989, Bobby was headlining his own tour. Don't Be Cruel was the best-selling album of 1989, eventually selling 12 million copies, and took New Jack Swing to new heights. The only New Jack Swing album that sold more was Michael Jackson's 1991 Dangerous album, but many debate that Don't Be Cruel is better. Which album do you like more? The album is a classic, and deep cuts like All Day All Night and I'll Be Good to You are as good as the singles. Hitmakers Babyface and L.A. Reid shaped the album, and Teddy Riley produced the hit that took Bobby to superstar status. Could this have been a Babyface album, and do you consider Bobby Brown the king of R&B?